Once upon a very snowy morning, a little boy named Chester discovered something that would change everything. A crown hidden under the snow. But this wasn't just any crown. It was old, magical, and waiting to be found. The moment Chester touched it, he was swept away into a kingdom of endless winter, a world filled with shimmering forests, glowing creatures, and a terrible frost sorceress who had stolen the seasons. In this frozen land, Chester learns that he's part of a very special prophecy. To save the kingdom, he must find the missing shards of the winter crown and bring back spring, sunshine, and the warmth that lives in every heart. Through enchanted forests, icy mountains, and swirling snowstorms, Chester's journey will be full of riddles, courage, and magical friends, including a talking pigeon in grandpa glasses. This is a story about bravery, about believing in yourself, and about the kind of warmth that doesn't come from the sun, but from the light we carry inside. It was a snowy morning, and the world sparkled like a giant frosted cake. Chester, bundled up in his red puffy jacket and blue scarf, darted between the snow-covered trees, laughing as his friends chased after him. "You can't catch me!" Chester shouted, his voice ringing through the chilly air. His boots crunched on the fresh snow, and his scarf fluttered behind him like a bright blue streamer. But just as he turned to glance over his shoulder, something hidden beneath the snow caught his foot. "Whoo!" Chester cried, tumbling forward into a soft pile of powdery snow. He sat up, brushing snow off his jacket. That's when he saw a glint of something poking out from under the frost. A crown, old, stone, and covered in sparkling ice crystals. "Whoa, what's that?" Chester whispered, eyes wide with wonder. He leaned closer, his mitten brushing away the frost. The moment he touched it, everything changed. A swirling, sparkling blue light burst from the crown, wrapping around him like a gentle snowstorm. Before Chester could even shout, the ground beneath him opened into a swirling portal, and with a soft whoosh, Chester tumbled in, disappearing from the snowy park. Down, down, down. Chester tumbled, but it wasn't scary. The air around him was full of glowing snowflakes, floating gently like feathers. Colors swirled all around, soft blues, magical purples, and sparkles of silver light. "Ooh, where am I going?" Chester laughed nervously, spinning gently in the air like a falling leaf. Then poof! He landed softly in a snowbank. Chester sat up, brushing snow off his mittens. He wasn't in the park anymore. Around him stretched a frozen forest, but not like any forest he'd ever seen. The trees were tall and twisted, with bark made of crystal and icicles hanging like glowing candy canes. The sky above shimmered in twilight colors, pink, blue, and gold, like a frozen sunset. "Whoa, this isn't the park anymore," Chester whispered, looking around with wide, amazed eyes. Suddenly, tiny rustles came from the trees. Chester froze, then peek. A white snow fox poked out its little head from behind a frosty bush. Beside it, a sparkly deer with see-through legs blinked at him, and a fluffy rabbit with giant ears twitched its nose. Chester giggled. "Hi there." The animals slowly stepped closer, surrounding him like he was one of their own. Then a warm, golden light beamed down from the sky. It wasn't hot like the sun, but it felt cozy, like a blanket fresh from the dryer. A soft, gentle voice drifted through the air. "Welcome, Chester. We've been waiting for you." Chester looked up, eyes full of wonder. Someone, or something, knew his name. The adventure had only just begun. From the shimmer of the icy forest came a soft flutter-flutter sound. Chester turned. There, landing gently on a sparkling branch, was the strangest bird he had ever seen. It was a round, fluffy pigeon, its feathers white and silvery gray, but that wasn't the strange part. On its tiny beak, It wore round, shiny glasses. "Just like Grandpa's." "Young traveler," the pigeon said, adjusting its glasses with a tiny bob of its head. "You have found the winter crown." Chester's mouth dropped open. "You can talk?" The pigeon gave a small smile. "Oh yes, I do more than talk. I teach. Come, listen closely." The pigeon puffed up its chest proudly. And suddenly, whoosh, a magical picture floated into the air, right in front of Chester. In the glowing image, Chester saw a broken crown, lying in the snow. Beside it stood a tall, shadowy figure, draped in flowing icy robes, with eyes like frozen glass. "That," said the pigeon seriously, "is the frost sorceress. Long ago, she shattered the true winter crown. Now our land is trapped in endless cold." The shimmering image changed again, this time showing 4 glowing shapes, like children made of light. "Only 4 hearts from another world can fix the crown and bring back the seasons," the pigeon continued, voice low and calm. "And one of those hearts is you, Chester." Chester looked at the glowing shapes. They did kind of look like him and his friends. He clenched his little fists and stood tall. "I'll find the shards. I promise," he said, his eyes sparkling with courage. The pigeon adjusted its glasses once more, smiling proudly. "Then your journey begins now." The enchanted forest sparkled like a box of treasures. The trees were gigantic, tall as castles, with trunks like glowing lollipops made of ice. Their branches shimmered in colors Chester had never seen before: purples, blues, and glowing golds. Chester stepped carefully between frozen flowers and curling mist. Every crunch of his boots in the snow echoed like a whisper. "It's like a dream," he whispered, eyes wide. Then bump! He stopped. Right in front of him stood a tall, frozen gate, carved from thick slabs of magical ice. Its surface shimmered with glowing symbols that blinked like lights on a robot. Chester stepped closer to the strange gate. Suddenly, a gentle whisper curled through the air. "Speak the secret of warmth, and the gate shall open." Chester scratched his head. "Secret of warmth, warmth, warmth." He tapped his chin with his mitten. "Not fire, not sunshine." Then his eyes lit up. "The heart," he gasped. "Warmth comes from the heart." Just as the last word left his lips, the glowing symbols lit up, bing, 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 and the frozen gate began to shake. Rumble. The icy doors creaked open. Behind them was a snowy clearing glowing with soft light. Floating in the air, spinning slowly, was a shimmering shard, a piece of the true winter crown. "The first shard! I found it!" Chester shouted, rushing forward with joy. He reached out his hand, and as his fingers brushed the glowing crystal, sparkles swirled all around him like dancing stars. The journey had truly begun. As Chester turned to leave the glowing clearing, the wind changed. It howled through the trees, no longer soft and friendly, but cold and sharp. The light dimmed. Snow swirled faster. The air grew heavy. Then, from the storm, she stepped out. The frost sorceress. She was tall and still, her robe like a wave of ice trailing behind her. Her silver hair sparkled like icicles, and her eyes, pale blue and glowing, never blinked. She looked down at Chester, who stood small and brave in the snow. "You found the first shard," she said, her voice smooth like a frozen river. "But why fix what is perfect? This world doesn't need seasons, it needs silence and snow." Chester clenched his fists. "You're wrong," he said, his voice steady. "The kingdom needs warmth. The crown belongs to everyone, not just you." The sorceress narrowed her eyes. Snow whipped around them faster and faster, but Chester didn't back down. He held the glowing shard close to his chest, and it shimmered brighter than ever. The final shard glowed in Chester's hand, warmer than snow, brighter than the stars above. He stood before a tall altar made of ancient ice. It shimmered like glass, carved with swirls and shapes that sparkled as if they remembered the magic from long ago. Snowflakes swirled gently around him, not from cold but from excitement. Even the wind felt like it was holding its breath. Chester reached out, heart pounding. Carefully, he placed the final shard on the altar. The moment it touched the icy surface, boom! A soft blast of golden light burst outward. The shards lifted into the air, spinning faster and faster, brighter and brighter. Then click! They came together. In a swirl of sparkling beams, the true winter crown formed whole, gleaming, and filled with warmth. It hovered in the air, glowing like sunshine after a long, snowy night. Chester stared, his mouth open in awe. He didn't feel small anymore. He felt strong, like the light inside him was shining out for everyone to see. The crown hovered above the altar, glowing like sunrise. The snow beneath Chester's boots began to shimmer. Then, the light from the crown burst upward, a stream of golden magic spiraling into the sky. It reached the clouds and melted them. One by one, snowflakes stopped falling. Instead, something else began to flutter down. Petals. Soft, pink flower petals drifted gently from the sky, landing on the snow and making it sparkle like sugar. Then, melting, the snow faded away into soft, rich grass, green and warm. Frozen streams began to run, chuckling as they flowed across the land. Tiny flowers popped up everywhere, reds, blues, yellows like paint splatters from a joyful brush. The crystal trees trembled and turned into real ones. Their icy branches blossomed into leaves, full and green, dancing in the breeze. Chester turned slowly in a circle, his mouth wide with wonder. "It's working," he whispered. "Spring is coming back." Suddenly, from every corner of the forest, animals came bounding in. The snow fox, the little ice deer, even the fluffy rabbit with big ears all leapt and hopped joyfully. The deer kicked its hooves, sending flower petals flying. The fox rolled in the grass. The rabbit wiggled its nose and did a tiny happy dance. Laughter echoed through the trees, not just Chester's, but other children too. His friends! They ran toward him, smiling and shouting his name. "Chester, you did it!" The warm breeze tickled their cheeks. The sky was now bright blue, the kind of blue that makes you want to lie in the grass and look at clouds forever. The kingdom was alive again, and Chester had brought the seasons home. The crown glowed softly in the sky above the trees. Chester stood with his friends and the magical creatures, all laughing, dancing, and hugging under the new spring sun. The snow was gone. The kingdom was free. Then, from high above, a golden swirl of light floated down and gently circled Chester like a hug made of sparkles. "It's time to go home now, little hero," came the warm voice of the pigeon, fluttering down beside him, glasses gleaming in the light. "You've done what no one else could." Chester looked around one last time. At the green meadows, the blooming trees, the smiling faces. He took a deep breath, held it in his heart, and stepped into the golden swirl. Whoosh! In an instant, the world changed. Chester blinked. He was lying in the snow again, right back in the same park, under the same sky. But something was different. He sat up slowly. Laughter echoed nearby. His friends were still playing tag, just like before. Had it all been a dream? Chester looked down at his mitten. Nestled in his palm was a tiny, glowing snowflake, but it didn't melt. It shimmered softly, with a golden light, just like the crown. Chester smiled. It hadn't been a dream at all. As he stood up and ran to rejoin his friends, the snowflake pulsed once in his palm and vanished. But Chester didn't need it anymore. He carried the magic right inside him.